Rev up your engine. All right, here we have a Toyota Sienna van, well over 200,000 miles on it, bought used for only 3,000 bucks, and it's still going strong. How do these things last? Why do people buy them? Well, you're gonna find out soon. Now, before this, the owner had two Pontiac Montana vans, and he hated them. The transmissions went out. He worked for GM, so he got a good deal on the vans, but it turns out even that wasn't such a good deal. Well, $3 grand for this. They put 50,000 miles on it since buying it for $3 grand. They put tires on it. Tires wear out. They changed the oil and filter, and they did change the radiator. Very simple job, just bolts out and in. You can go aftermarket if you want, and you can see it's got a very reliable V6 3.3 liter engine. Now, there's only one problem with this engine, which is this. It does happen to be an interference engine. It's the only V6 one I've ever seen in Toyotas that's interference. 3.5s weren't, but the 3.3s were interference engines. So, you're supposed to change the timing belt and the water pump about every 100,000 miles. Because if the belt breaks, the pistons can hit the valves when you're going 30, 40 miles an hour or faster and destroy the engine. But if you want to really know the truth about it, I've never actually seen a belt ever break on one of these. And I got customers that have over 300,000 miles on these, and they never change the timing belts. Toyota builds them so well. Now, you'd rather have one. All the modern ones have timing chains on them, right? Only Honda's still making them with V6 with timing belts and interference engines. I've never seen one actually break. But if you want to be conservative, every 100,000 miles, change the water pump, change the timing belt, and the automatic tensioner. But like I said, I've seen them go a lot longer than that, and they're still rolling down the road. Now, the reason these are so popular is because of their size. You fit a lot of stuff in one of these. Even the back seat has good views of the window. The middle has even more space. And this is an old one, so, oh my God, you actually have to close the door by hand. Now, this one used to be automatic, but it broke on them. They do break over time. And when he read about what he had to do to change it out, he just disconnected it, so now it's a manual one too. Oh, now you gotta pull it by hand. Oh, it's so rough. You can see it's got the button, but it's all been disconnected because it was too much bottom. Now really, if you can't go like this, maybe you shouldn't be driving. You can't pull a door closed. How are you gonna turn the steering wheel and look and decide what to do if you can't do something that simple, right? The door still opens and closes. Now, as we look inside, you want something that lasts. Get a cloth interior. Look at this thing. 20 years old and it's still in good shape. And of course, it's a Toyota, so it's going to start right up. We know that. He added the Sony, which is a good idea. Why not add a Sony one? Well, the old DVD player's seen better days. He said the disc got stuck. He took it apart and then he gave up on the whole thing. But it's a safer vehicle now. People aren't distracting you watching a movie while you're driving down the road. Now they got a deal when he bought the car because they didn't put this in. The previous owner did. And with installation, the cost is like 650, 700 bucks. So they got it for nothing. Well, the transmission in this thing works fine. They had to put a transmission in the last one. That was a straw that broke the camel's back. It's old, so of course it's only got basic stuff. You can mess with your speakers. It does have the regular Toyota cruise control. Real parking brake. Not that electronic nonsense the new ones have. The chairs are still really comfortable, as are the rest of them. Now you can check it out. We got holders here, but we also have sunglass holders here. You don't see that very often. Nice hangers like in a Subway, and people in the back can adjust their own climate control. There's vents here, there, and way in the back there's vents too. So we plug in a scan tool, turn the key on so the idiot lights are on, and while we're waiting, you know, I say the Japanese built ones are the best, even with Toyotas. Well, they've been building these things in Indiana for quite some time. I believe they build about 400,000 cars a year there now. They make Siennas, they make Highlanders, they make all kinds of vehicles, and they got a pretty good idea what they're doing. So we know it's a Toyota. We're going to do a standalone diagnosis. It knows it's a Sienna, North America, 2006, V6 engine, and what kind of air conditioning it's got. So we can still do a topology scan, so here we go. And while it's doing its thing, we'll look around again. Front wheel drive makes them real easy to drive. They're pretty hard to get stuck. They don't have spinning rear wheels. They're pulling with the front wheels. Now, this is an older car with a V6 engine. On the trip up to the highway here, they got 20 miles a gallon. Now, if you want better gas mileage, you get a Sienna hybrid that gets phenomenal gas mileage. But on the other hand, my son bought one that was pretty close to $50,000. They paid $3 grand for this thing years ago for $47,000. You can buy an awful lot of gasoline. You can see it's old, but check it out. No codes at all, 0. So let's start her up and we'll look at some serious information here with live data. We're waiting, you can see, got 213,175 miles on it. There you go with the live data. Remember, black is good, other colors are bad. We're gonna look at long-term fuel trim, right? Now it's 4.65%. So it's adding 4.65% fuel in the long term. It's not bad when you got 200-something thousand miles. It means it's running a little bit lean. Now, if you wanted, you could put some of Bernie's ATS, fuel injector cleaner. A lot of times the injectors aren't spraying enough. They're a little bit restricted. And you might get the long-term fuel trim to go to 0. But I've actually done that with some, and guess what? They end up getting worse gas mileage. You get a car that's running a little bit lean, especially on the highway, you're going to get a little bit better gas mileage. It's nothing to affect anything. It's not going to damage anything, right? But as they get older, things don't spray perfectly, you're not using as much fuel. This is not a race vehicle to begin with. You're not drag racing this thing, so what if it runs a little bit lean? It's not hurting anything. You can see it has no codes at all, so it's not tripping anything that's a problem. And you can see when you look at the fuel trim, both bank 1 and bank 2, it's 99.16. 100 is perfect. So 99.16 out of 100 with 200-something thousand miles, that's not bad, you know? It's almost perfect. Better than me. There's no way I'm 99.1% perfect anymore. See if anything else looks odd. The injector millisecond firing is fine. And you can see the misfire counts. It has none, 0 across the board. Transmission data's all good. So let's take it for a spin. So, well, there's no backup camera. That's added in, but not a backup camera. So we'll just look. First thing I notice, it idles like a dream. 200,000 miles. Does it shake? No. And believe it or not, this baby's still got the original struts on this thing. Now I'm gonna go slow over the bump because it's relatively steep. I don't wanna knock anything off on a Massachusetts rush car. 200-something thousand miles, original struts. Let's see what it does on these bumps. Hey, it's pretty smooth. This is a pretty long wheelbase, and speaking of that, one of the reasons these ride so well is because it's based on a Toyota Camry platform. When they built these vans, they basically took a Toyota Camry chassis and they modified it to create a minivan. Let's see if the AC still works. Yes, indeed, it's blowing nice and cold. Here we go. We'll give it a little gas. Engine sounds strong, decent shifting. Not a race vehicle, but it's not a turd either. That dependable 3.3 liter V6 engine. Hey, they got enough power to get a minivan around. The AC on's idling smooth as silk. While we wait for all this traffic, people drive like maniacs on this road. Another speeder flies by. They're certainly doing a lot more than 35, I'll tell you that. Here we go, down to the ocean. Front struts are worn. It does have 213,000 miles. Still rides okay, but I can hear that noise there and get a little clunk. So if you really wanted to make this even smoother, I'd replace both front struts anyways. But take my advice and don't use one of those quick struts, because they did on one of their other vehicles, and he was driving down the road and he heard boing, and what happened? The quick strut spring snapped while he was driving down the road. They fixed it on their warranty, but I really don't want a car with quick strut springs that snap while you're driving down the road just a few months after you had new ones put in. Not a fan of quick struts. And again, as we're driving down the road, still very smooth power delivery. I can feel it when I hit the bumps. I would change the front struts on it. If you want a Fanatics ride to make it ride even better, you can hear the little noises. That's the struts. It's not like you're losing control. It's totally stable. When we hit the bumps, it makes a noise, but it doesn't even affect the steering. The steering's not shaking or wobbling or anything. So there you have it, the Toyota Sienna, king of the minivans. Yeah, a few things don't work, but it's got 215,000 miles on it. Still a dependable ride for going down the road. smooth. You can fit all kinds of people inside it. Hey, $3,000 years ago, it's still going strong. What more can you say? If it was a Honda Odyssey, the tranny would have gone out by now. If it was a Ford or GM, the engines probably would have blown up, and or the transmissions would have gone off. And if it was a Ford, the AC certainly would have exploded by now. But no, it's still a pretty solid vehicle. Yes, made in Indiana, not Japan, but like I say, they make 400,000 vehicles a year in Indiana for Toyota. They got a pretty good idea what they're doing. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.